one of her favorite things to say is, "I don't believe in landfills." That's one of her favorite things to say. She thinks she's saving the planet by saving things and not putting them in the trash can. So, and I think that that's part of, for her, I can see that in the way her mother, my grandparents, she's talked about her as a young woman. Like, she had to do things differently, and she had to have sort of a personal cause for why as a reason for why she did things. So I think rebellion was definitely a big part of it for my mother.
So I think it is for some people, but not a problem for her.
What's that?
So being in trouble with the city isn't a problem for her. That's not a triggering point for, okay, my hoarding has become unmanageable. That's just part of her, who she is. And she's that power struggle of, you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me not to.
Right. In my conversation with her, the city citation was just a total minor annoyance. What was really annoying to her was she's on a sort of a committee for finding speakers for a group, and she just had to tell me how everybody else on the committee, all they like to do is talk, and they don't want to get anything done. And and she really has the best way of doing things, and she's completely burdened with these very different personalities. So but the city citation, that was totally minor for her, and so I have to have my ears really well tuned for these things that might slip out that for me are a big they're a big when I hear that this is happening, I worry. I have to listen to all of the other kind of banter that fills her consciousness in order to get to the things that I think are important in my relationship with her, which is making sure that she's safe and that the house isn't going to get taken away, or the health department isn't going to come and evict them. So, yeah.
I'm getting a little concerned about time, but I don't want to truncate things. Are there a couple of brief comments?
I just had a question of people with hoarding experience. Do hoarders tend to have fewer relationships with people, or no relationships with people? I mean, I know a lot of them have to work, but maybe come home and then they're there by themselves. Is that common or uncommon?
I think statistics have shown that people who hoard, the more that they hoard, the more isolated they become. And my mother's a very social person, but she's only social outside of the house because people don't come over.
See, my family runs the opposite side of the coin. I have a future family member who, her hoarding is so thoughtless. It's ads and newspapers and mail from 2006 and 2007 that we go and clean up when we're going to have company. And she still has parties and still has company and still cooks, but it's like whatever the room is designated for is what's in there. There are potatoes rotting, and there's food rotting, and there's fresh food going on top of rotting food. Her quilting room, you can't enter. It's full of fabric. Her bedroom is, floor to ceiling. It's all clothing. It's all empty bottles. It's all shampoo and empty toothpaste. The garage is packed. You can't open the 2 spare refrigerators that are in there because it's garage door to garage door.
But she lets people in.
But she lets people in, and she wants them there, and she loves the company, and her cleanup is sort of like a swipe into a trash can, which shows that she has no relation to the objects that she's keeping around, which is why it's fascinating and uncomfortable and anxious for the family member that I'm marrying, that we're sort of all this. We recently had an intervention, and I come from a household that it was OCD on the other end. I mean, Saturday mornings were cleaning, and we dusted, mini blinds and banisters, and it was polish and mop and wax, and in his family, it just wasn't like that. And I feel like I really put a cap on that behavior on his end because we've been dating for so long. So I wonder, if given the opportunity, what his natural habitat would be. Nobody was in the way that I was. It's just interesting.
You better check that out before you.
Got it. But it's the kind of thing where it's so mindless, and she, her husband, it's just like he they just ignored it for so long, and it's like it's not even there. They don't see it. It's not something that registers on a daily basis. Oh, this is a stack of mail from 2006, 2007. These are this is a magazine subscription from 2005 on that I chronologically put together. And said, okay, when you're ready to read these, you know. But and it stays that way until we're back in town and we're gone. And so it recently, because you know the husband is so old and it's like, you know, when you guys are gone, it's going to be up to us and the kids to clean this up, and that's not fair. And it hit them hard, but they've actually like taken steps and were like a corner a Sunday, pick a corner. And I mean, that's what we were doing when we were visiting. It's just like, all right, what time are they getting here? You know, trash cans full of recycling, and it just it amazed me. Rooms that she didn't go in were immaculate and clean, but if it was her territory in any way, they were just, you can't open. With the offices full of paper. She's an insurance agent. So she's seeing people on a daily basis, but her car is the same way. You can't, there's a four-door car and there's no room for anybody else to sit in the driver's seat. So it's just sort of amazing. It's nothing important. It's not a collection. It's nothing that's precious or valuable or, you know, worth anything to her. But it was almost just like, how long am I going to get away with people not calling me on this, and you know, my children and my husband living with it instead of helping and picking up and saying, hey, let's pick this up, but we doesn't have to stay here. And it kind of took a crazy OCD on the other end to be like, okay, we need to talk about this. And now it's actually, the wheels are in motion. It just amazes me that it went on this long.
Well, I had a similar situation 3 years ago when I went home where I grew up to visit my mother. And it turned out she had Alzheimer's. And I mean, there were just layers of things. And she wasn't capable really of organizing them. And she may or may not have known that, you know, we got to do something about this. But she had and she still has Alzheimer's. It's probably overwhelming, so overwhelming, you know, that they can't get a handle on it, too.
But I mean, with this particular case, like it was from, you know, my husband's whole life. You know, it was from, it's all he remembers. And when they moved from one house to another, they packed boxes that they hadn't looked in. They packed rotten food from the fridge and moved it into a new fridge. It was just sort of like, they didn't care to look or to, you know, so I just wonder, you know, where does that fall on this spectrum of hoarding, you know?
Also, you know, they say people who have Alzheimer's, once they forget all the memories, there's nothing really to live for. And if you think of it as she had pointed out with energy, things that keep you warm, things that keep you comfortable, you know. And when you lose a memory, when you lose all your memories, when you lose, you know, I don't know, I just wanted to make that connection with energy because I think what is a big issue or a big factor, I guess, in having things close to you as opposed to having empty space. And you know,
It makes me feel a lot with nesting and then selecting from the landfills and from the piles of sort of abandoned debris, what's important and what you can make use of. And, you know, there are nests in these paintings.
You use a key word, you say what is important. We were talking about this energy that's warm and whatnot, and if you look at the antithesis, somebody who's not willing to tolerate it with another family member, there's the opposing energy, you know, that are going on there. So when you were talking about tolerance, you know, one thing I see here that incorporates in a lot of the paintings is like there's this lack of boundary, you know, or maybe it is a boundary for them. I don't know, you know, there's a shoulder boundary, but there's these boundaries that are just like leading you to question.
I'm thinking maybe we've gone back to this painting